Hey everybody, so today, by popular request, we are going to take a look at some of my own licks, patterns, dissonance formulas, and just some ways of approaching improvisation that I think you're gonna find really interesting and useful. We're actually gonna explore that by taking a look at a recent solo from a song that I just released called Dream Cycles. Now, for the record, I'm actually making this video because a lot of you have been asking me about my solo and if I could make a video explaining it. So, that is what prompted this video, not just that I myself wanted to show you all my solo, but I am genuinely very flattered by the interest in learning about it. So I tried to pick a few spots from the solo that we could look at that would be exceedingly useful for you and might actually open up your eyes, or really ears, to some new techniques and new ways of approaching improvisation. I also want to say a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Transcribe Plus. Transcribe Plus is an app that has completely changed the way I personally approach transcription. It's made it so much more fun, engaging, and just overall easy, less time consuming, and I'm able to be so much more efficient in taking the licks and pieces of solos that I really want to learn. If you want to learn more about Transcribe Plus, be sure to click the link in the description to download a free trial, and I will also let you know some more details later on in the video. All right, so I'm going to pull up Transcribe Plus on my iPad here, and let's take a listen to some of these licks. All right, so as you can see here, I've got these licks in this nice horizontal layout so that I can see where they are on the timeline. And of course, down here, I can jump very quickly around the track, but my solo happens to be in this later part. So let's just take a look here. This is a new feature that Transcribe Plus recently added, actually, loop view, which I love. So let's take a listen to the first one here. So as you can see, I like to set these little licks so that they can loop over and over, making it easier for me to transcribe them or even practice along with them. But even transcribing my own solo, it's a little tricky at this speed. So let's actually go ahead and slow this down and take a listen to this lick one more time. And I'll tell you why I thought this would be a useful one for you to learn. So first of all, here are the chords. We've got F minor 11 to A flat minor 11 to G minor 11 to E minor 11. Okay, so we got this little intervallic minor 11 chord motion going on. Now, part of why I thought this lick would be really interesting is because in jazz we've developed a certain vocabulary that's very much grounded oftentimes in bebop, right? I want you to take a listen to what I'm actually doing here in this lick. Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. You may actually think this sounds awful. That's totally fine. But it's just a trick that I personally like to utilize. So if you like the sound of it, then hopefully you'll find this useful. That's it. That's what I wanted you to hear right there. So all I'm doing here, as you might have just heard, is utilizing absolutely basic triads and turning them into arpeggios. And it sounds kind of interesting and unique because in jazz, we're so used to bebop chromaticism. So instead of doing right, something like that, instead I'm doing just these triadic arpeggios. And it's really interesting how doing those arpeggios, first of all, much easier than it seems. Second of all, it really opens up your ability to move around the keyboard because it's pretty easy to do a basic arpeggio in comparison with some of the other lick-based chromaticism that we often use in jazz. It's also nice sometimes because just sonically it opens things up intervallically away from that chromaticism. The way I'm doing this arpeggio, by the way, is starting with the 2 on the flat 3 of F, right? And then thumb on C. And then for the A flat, I'll put my thumb on the B. And then let's see what I do after that. I make the line a little bit more unique and interesting by actually changing up the order of the notes, the pattern, so I'm not just simply arpeggiating. I'll I'll actually do a little bit more variation. Things like that. Right, so sometimes I love hopping the pinky. That's a really great trick. Or same thing with the thumb. Anytime you kind of get to the top or bottom note of a line, it's a great chance to kind of accent that note by giving it a second eighth note. And then for the second half of this line, I'm keeping it pretty simple, really doing somewhat of an arpeggio of the G minor here. And then doing a little enclosure pattern to the 11 of the E minor. And that's that first lick. So I hope you found some really useful tidbits of information in there and some interesting techniques to actually try out adding to your lines. All right, let's look at the next bit of the solo that I pulled up for you here. So this is a nice little construction built on the first lick. And let me show you why it's interesting, because for the first lick we were doing the very diatonic arpeggios. F minor triad, A flat minor triad. But here I'm going to do the F minor triad again, however this time over E flat. Listen to that sound. So we actually get this E flat minor 13 sound, this C. And so this is just a demonstration of how that simple triad, again, a very simple technique that you can learn, can be really applicable and useful over other chords. So before we move on to our next lick here, I just want to take a second to tell you a bit more about Transcribe Plus. So they originally reached out to me to sponsor one of my videos last year. And what I actually did, because I like to do my diligence and research before sponsoring a product, is I actually went and downloaded a bunch of different transcription apps and tried them out. Now, I'm not going to turn this into a review on those transcription apps, but all I can say is that Transcribe Plus to this day is the favorite for me that I used. And I still use it to this day pretty much every single day, actually. What I personally really like about it is the ease of the interface, the way there's this new loop view now, which actually wasn't even here last time, makes it so easy to move through the sections of the song that I really want to work with. So once I've gone through the song and just chosen the little sections that I want to loop, right, it's actually really easy. You can stretch or unstretch a loop just by doing this. Probably shouldn't have done that since I'm about to use that loop, but either way you get the point. And then you can just click up there, and now we're back in loop view. And now I can click on that loop. Of course, you can speed up the loop or slow it down right here. It's just so easy to use and very, very useful. Also, going back to the main view, another really cool aspect is that you can actually go up here and you can actually run an algorithm that will separate the different instruments for you. So let's give this a quick shot. Okay, so now you can actually see that in this upper section there are actually 3 different waveforms. And these are the different instruments that over here we can turn on and off. I'm just permanently turning off that vocal one up top. But let's take a listen to this. I'm going to move it up to normal speed here. Let's take a listen. All right, so let's say it was really difficult for me to hear what was going on in the piano, and I just wanted to isolate that. Let's turn off the drums and turn off the bass, and let's hear it. So it's not completely perfect, but it's pretty awesome and useful, especially I find when I'm trying to transcribe a voicing, and it's a little tricky if there's a lot going on in the drums or maybe even another instrument playing on top, like a horn. It's amazing to be able to turn those off and just focus in on the piano. I find I personally never really use the pitch, but you can actually change the pitch if you need to. So all in all, this is a great app, and though I don't personally use every single sponsor on this channel, I'm happy to tell you right now that this is actually an app that I use quite frequently, so I do personally recommend it. You can click the link in the description and download a free trial, and I really think you'll enjoy it. So I highly recommend that you click the link in the description and check it out. All right, so let's take a look at the third loop. And actually what I did was I pulled a video into Transcribe Plus because I realized I had one of this lick. And I think that that's really going to be useful for you all to see exactly what I'm doing and how I played it. Because this lick, part of what makes it interesting is that I'm using both hands to play it. So in Transcribe Plus here, you'll actually be able to see the video, and I am going to loop it here, which is a very cool feature that I also often use. So I'm going to just drag this a little bit so we get the ends. All right, let's slow it down a bit and see how this looks and sounds. All right, cool. So this lick is yet again easier than it looks when you actually break it down. So I'm not going to play it note for note exactly, but instead I'm going to show you the technique that I'm actually using here. So basically what I'm really doing is just taking a specific voicing and arpeggiating it between the two hands as if it were a line. Then I'm actually doing essentially inversions of it to make the line move around. In fact, I could probably do it better now in this demonstration than I did live when I was playing this. So let me show you what I mean. So this is the voicing that I was using more or less. 1, 5, 9, flat 3, flat 7. And essentially what I'm doing is, in time, right, I'm creating a pattern between the two hands. So this is my two-hand arpeggio, but then I'm going to actually... But then what we can do is move the voicing diatonically here. I'm actually going to move it to the next possible note in the scale one more time. I kind of like this one. And this is actually a major 9 voicing that I've showed you all, but we're still going to be over F minor 9 here, so I can do... and essentially have this little linear arpeggiation that I'm doing. Right? We get these beautiful sounds by essentially using both hands to arpeggiate, but use it to create lines instead of just thinking harmonically for chords. So all in all, I know that this in the end was a video about my own solo, but you know what? Sometimes it's easiest to take the techniques that you're teaching and demonstrate how they're used in your own music and your own improvisation. So I hope that those of you that were asking for me to break this down are satisfied, and I hope those of you who weren't asking still found some really useful information in this video about improvisation and my own personal approach on this tune, which by the way, once again, is called Dream Cycles, and you can check it out by clicking the link in the description or just searching Noah Kellman Dream Cycles on the streaming platform of your choice. You can also get the vinyl by clicking the link in the description as well. That is it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I hope you got some great information out of this, and if you did, please hit that like button. It really helps out myself and the channel. And of course, if you're new here, click subscribe so you don't miss any more videos just like this one in the future. And last but not least, thanks again to our sponsor, Transcribe Plus. Be sure to click the link in the description to check out the app. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.